ate one meal. 6 months later, something was eating his brain from the inside. The headache started small. That is always how it begins. Not with a collapse, not with a seizure, not with anything dramatic enough to send a person straight to the hospital. Just a dull, persistent pressure behind the eyes that a man tells himself is stress or dehydration, or the kind of thing that goes away on its own if you give it enough time and enough paracetamol. Marcus gave it 8 months. 8 months of headaches that came and went and came back worse. 8 months of telling his wife he was fine. 8 months of going to work, coming home, eating dinner, going to bed, and waking up with the same pressure sitting behind his forehead, like something was pushing outward from the inside. And then one morning he woke up on the kitchen floor with no memory of how he got there. His wife was kneeling over him, shaking his shoulders, and he could not immediately remember her name. That was the morning everything changed, because the headaches were never headaches. His name was Marcus, 34 years old, logistics manager, Birmingham. He had traveled to Mexico City for work 18 months earlier. A 2-week contract, nothing unusual. The kind of trip he had made half a dozen times in the previous 5 years. He ate at street stalls because the food was extraordinary, and because he had eaten street food across 4 continents without a single problem. He drank bottled water. He was careful. He was experienced. He came home, went back to work, and thought nothing more about Mexico City. The thing he brought back with him was already growing. Mexico City is one of the great food cities on Earth. 22 million people, 10,000 street stalls, a culinary tradition that stretches back centuries, and something invisible moving through parts of that food supply that nobody mentions in the travel guides. You can eat there for a week and have some of the best meals of your life. Most people do exactly that and come home perfectly healthy. Most people. Mexico City sits at the center of one of the highest burden regions in the world for a particular parasitic infection, an infection so embedded in Central and Latin America that the World Health Organization classifies it as a neglected tropical disease, an infection so catastrophic in its advanced form that it is the single leading cause of adult-onset epilepsy in the developing world. Most people who carry it have no idea. The stall Marcus ate from on his 3rd night in the city served tacos, pork from a large rotating spit, carved fresh and served hot on small corn tortillas with onion and coriander. He ate 4 of them standing at the counter. They were, by his own account, among the best things he had ever tasted. The pork was not fully cooked through. That was all it took. Taenia solium, the pork tapeworm. As an adult living in the human intestine, it is a nightmarish thing. It anchors itself to the intestinal wall using a crown of recurved hooks around its head, a structure called the scolex, and it simply feeds. It can reach up to 4 meters in length. It produces millions of eggs, which leave the body in the host's feces and contaminate anything they touch, soil, water, food, and the hands of anyone nearby who does not wash thoroughly. Most people carrying an adult tapeworm feel nothing beyond occasional discomfort. The tapeworm has no interest in killing its host. A dead host is not useful to it. The larvae are a different matter entirely. When a person ingests Taenia solium eggs, microscopic, invisible, present on contaminated food or unwashed hands, the eggs hatch in the small intestine. But unlike the adult worm, the larvae do not stay in the gut. They bore through the intestinal wall and enter the bloodstream, and then they travel. The bloodstream reaches every organ. The larvae ride it to the muscles, to the eyes, to the tissue beneath the skin, and in the cases that end in hospital beds and emergency scans, and families standing in corridors outside neurology wards, to the brain. Once inside brain tissue, the larva stops moving. It encases itself in a protective membrane, drawing calcium from the surrounding tissue, building a calcified shell, a cyst. On a brain scan, it appears as a small pale sphere embedded in grey matter, round and white and sitting in tissue that has no business containing anything round or white. Now imagine 6 of them, scattered across the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, the deep white matter, each one a larva, each one alive, each one building its walls. The immune system detects the foreign material and responds. flooding each cyst with inflammation, trying to contain the threat. Inside the rigid, enclosed space of the skull, inflammation means pressure. Pressure on brain tissue means symptoms. The pressure builds in waves as the immune response flares and recedes, which is why the headaches come and go rather than arriving all at once. The brain is being compressed from multiple points simultaneously, intermittently, relentlessly. 8 months of that, coming and going, manageable enough to dismiss, serious enough that the brain was quietly, measurably changing in ways no amount of paracetamol could touch. After Marcus was found on the kitchen floor, his wife drove him to A&E. The triage nurse recorded a witness seizure and fast-tracked him to neurology. The neurologist ran through the standard questions. Any history of epilepsy? No. Family history? No. International travel? Marcus mentioned Mexico City 18 months earlier. The scan took 12 minutes. The neurologist reviewed the images for considerably longer, 6 lesions. 2 in the left frontal lobe, 1 in the right temporal lobe, 2 in the deep white matter, 1 near the cerebellum. Each one pale and round, sitting in brain tissue that should contain nothing except brain tissue. A senior consultant arrived, looked at the scans, and asked one question. Had he eaten pork on his trip? Possibly undercooked? Marcus thought about the taco stall, the rotating spit, the meat carved from the hot caramelized outside, pressed toward the pink center to fill the tortilla. He already knew the answer before he finished remembering. 6 active cysts, 2 large enough to be causing significant intracranial pressure. In the worst cases, obstructive hydrocephalus develops, cysts blocking cerebrospinal fluid circulation. The brain swelling against the interior of the skull. The pressure becomes unsurvivable. Marcus did not have that yet. The treatment is, on paper, straightforward. Albendazole kills the larvae. Corticosteroids manage the inflammation that follows. But killing the larvae triggers an immune reaction that can make the pressure significantly worse before it gets better. The dead larva releases proteins into surrounding brain tissue. The immune system escalates. Seizures can increase in the days immediately after treatment begins. Marcus was admitted for 3 weeks. The first 4 days were the worst. 2 further seizures. His wife more frightened than the diagnosis itself had made her. By the end of week 1, the seizures had stopped. By week 3-4 cysts had shrunk. The remaining 2 were calcifying, no longer alive, no longer growing, no longer pressing. If the seizure had happened while he was driving rather than in his own kitchen, the conversation his wife was having with his medical team would have been a very different one. He was lucky. He will know that for the rest of his life. If you want to know what happened to the woman who came home from Costa Rica with something alive inside her head, that video is right here. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.